Hello, Chattanooga.
Hello.
I'm Sam Hodem.
I'm George Newman.
Welcome to another episode of Footnotes. Thank you for joining with us today. We pray that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, that you're walking and talking with the Lord always. We're just that spiritual, George.
Right, of course, always.
I do want to say, Footnotes is a ministry of Cornerstone Apostolic Church. We're located at 6314 East Brainerd Road here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And what Footnotes is we just look back over the Sunday sermon and we just kind of talk it through, give some of the footnotes of it. This Sunday we were privileged to have Brother Joel Austin with us. He was our founding pastor back in 1997.
Yeah, a long time ago. Before I was born.
It was before.
It was before I was born.
He's our student pastor.
Yeah.
What's that trend that's going around? What year were you born?
Oh, yeah.
Like 2001.
Before 2000, yeah.
Yeah. That was not before I was born. I'm the old guy now. So, but that was very interesting. He came in. We were very honored to have him.
Absolutely. It was very powerful to see like the person who had founded your church. It was a lot. Sometimes you can if you start a church or an early church, you meet that person, and then you go to a church that's been established, and like that part of history is kind of lost in a lot of ways. So it's really cool to see someone, to see the history of your church, right, in a person.
It was honestly, it was very good. He founded the church. He's 89 now, okay, and the church was founded in 1997. He was like 60 something then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like in his retirement, God spoke to him and said, "Hey, I need you to put a church in Chattanooga."
And his first church is what it seemed like from.
Yeah.
It wasn't like his ministry that he started churches his whole life. It was literally like, all right, I'm gonna learn how to do this right now. That's wild.
That was honestly, that was one of the most interesting things. He went through his life, and thankfully, we needed to hear that. Mm-hmm. He was born in 1936. We're a young church. You were born in like 2006.
2001.
Okay, 2001. I am so sorry. There's not a lot. We don't have a lot of elders in our church, and so being able to hear someone from 1936, can I say it's so funny. He talked about just some of the things that God had brought him from and delivered him from. His dad was a pastor, but he had no desire to be in that. He had no desire to be a preacher. And somehow along the way, he started smoking at 13 years old.
That's crazy. That's pastor kid material right there.
Oh, yeah.
But that was common, right? That was that day and age.
That day and time. That
would be wild to for me at least. If my culture meet someone 13 who's like, yeah, I'm smoking.
Yeah. What? I mean, to be fair, kids vape now.
That's true.
And I'm not. I am not endorsing any of this behavior. It's bad behavior. Understand that. Yes. But just I remember I looked around when he said that, and a lot of the teenagers were like, "What?"
Yeah, wide-eyed.
I remember that was not uncommon. Different times. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now he talked about how the struggle was, and how God brought him and had to deliver him from that and help with that. But it was just so interesting, just the simple cultural aspects and the simple differences of being born in 1936 versus 2001 or 1995, or there's a wild drastic difference. He talked about some of the revivals, and can I say he has been deeply involved by choice and sometimes not by choice in the apostolic movement as a whole. It seems like his fingerprints are there. Do you know? Right. I found this out at lunch. He helped wired Camp Lake Benson.
That's wild.
Yeah, because he was an electrician by trade.
I think it's interesting, and I don't mean to come across the wrong way, but like, you know how if you look at a tree, like cut a tree open, they see the rings, and you can tell the history of not only the tree but like the forest from the rings in the tree. Like, oh, there was a fire here. This is when winds came through or something like that. And when you talk to an elder, you talk to an elder, it's kind of like when they tell you your life story, you start to see things like from the like Cam Lake Benson. They talk about Holiness Hill, which I've never seen. Right, I've never seen Holiness Hill.
No clue.
But if you talk to one of our elders or one of the elders in Tennessee, they're going to talk about Holiness Hill. Yeah, and like you said, you just mentioned something like, oh wow, that's.
It's like, what?
How did that? Like, how were you there when that happened?
Yeah, I told him, I was like, oh, is that why we had like 5 fires there? Like, no, he knew better. Like, he was a master electrician.
Right.
So,
right.
All right. So he talked about a lot of things, and I'm not going to go through. We're going to get to the point. What did he preach about? What did he title and those things like that?
Today, he talked about the road was his message, and it was really cool because he used his own story, his life story as the sermon, right? Like he didn't really spend a lot of time delving into something but he showed the sermon through his life, right? He showed himself as the example of like, this is the road that I had to stay on, the choice I had to make to keep living for God.
Yeah. Well, he went through the part of being raised in a preacher's home. He got married, had a kid, and just did not. I mean, he carried his family to church because he thought it was a good thing to do, knew it was a good thing to do, but he didn't surrender his life.
Right.
He just didn't, and he talked about that. He just felt like he'd talk himself. He said, "I'd talk myself out, or the devil would have me talk out it by the end of the service, and I'd be good." And finally, there was one preacher that got up and opened his Bible up and then closed it and said, "There's somebody here that knows as much about the Bible as I do that needs God." Right. And he's like, that was me. Uh-oh. And so he did. I mean, and the blessings of the Lord followed him because of the choice of the calling of God. He talked about, you didn't know what, I barely know what Jackson College of Ministries, I think is what JCM in Jackson, but he was an executive director there, which had a huge impact on the generation before us of ministers. Almost, if you ask, there's ministers in our church that went to that. Anywhere around the South, there's going to be ministers that went to that college. It was a very impactful college. Very good, but like he talked about that and some of the things there. Different things. And what did you take away from that, George?
From his time at the Bible college? Yeah, just his
or
life,
before,
right?
His life.
I thought it was interesting because he really didn't start off like until he said that, oh yeah, I wasn't actually going to church. Like you wouldn't have thought that, which I thought was interesting when he told his story. He's like, oh, I grew up in a pastor's home and then I went to the Air Force and I did all these things. And he's like, oh yeah, and I wasn't I wasn't serving the Lord. And it reminds me of something we did in Sunday school where we talked about serving the Lord with your members and your spirit. Yeah. And it's like in that instance, when he goes to, because he knew church was good, right? He knew, that's where he needed to be. He talked a lot about listening to the calling and answering it and not just like running away from it. And he served with his members at that time, right? Like he came to church, he brought his family to churches, he knew it's what it needed to do. And then he talks about that transition of like God waking him up at night and being like, you're not where you're supposed to be. You need to be doing something different. And he would just keep ignoring it. And then finally he had to come, not just in his members, but also in his spirit and come to the altar and turn towards the Lord, right? And that's kind of something that I can relate to a lot in my life. And I just thought it was very interesting to hear his story.
And it wasn't early in life.
Right.
It was in life, and he finally surrendered to that. I will say he made the joke. He was like, I think if I go to Jackson, and that was kind of like a retirement thing for him. I think if I go to Jackson, that's going to placate. That's what God's calling me to do. And he said, and he was like, no, that wasn't it at all.
He made the joke. It was the worst time, right? But
it was
because he's having his Jonah moment, right? Where he's going through a storm. But and
it's doing the work of the Lord, but it wasn't what God had called him to do.
Right. right? It wasn't the road that he was supposed to be going down, right?
And that's what he was talking about, the road. I think it was interesting. He was coming through Chattanooga and stopped to get gas, and God told him to start a church here. Is something about the Presbyterian church. I want to go.
He went down and saw a knife museum. This was starts with an S. Shallowford Road, I think is what he said.
Yeah, on Shallowford Road.
And he said, I saw a knife museum and a Presbyterian church. Yeah. And they kept on driving. And he didn't say anything to his wife. He was just like, God told me I need to put a church there until they're on the way back. And then he drops the bomb. No time to think about it. He's like, oh, by the way, as we're driving by, just imagine he's like, oh, yeah.
She's like, what? we're fizzing about an RV, right. You know? Like, and this is in his 60s.
In his 60s.
Starts a church. He said he had 62 the first service, and then 2. Right? Three.
Was that? I didn't know if that was including him or if in his family, or if that was just. I think that was him and his family.
I think so. I think that was him and his wife.
Him and his wife and his daughter.
Yeah.
Were maybe not his daughter because it would have been. Yeah. So him and his wife and one other person.
Yeah. The second service.
Yeah.
He said if I had not been called, I would have just hung up my hat and gone.
Nobody would have probably blamed him.
No.
Either.
No.
That's hard.
Yeah. It's how important the call is too.
How much it changes you.
Yeah. And I don't want us to end. I do want to mention he went through all of that. He talked about it, and he told the church, he said, every one of us should be able to know by heart Acts 2:38. He said that is the simplest form, the quickest way. It is the plan of salvation. We should know that. I mean, and that was how he's ending. I've lived my life. I've ran from the call. I've answered the call. I've done this.
All the
experiences. And in my interpretation was suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah.
You know, like is what you're gonna have to make that decision. Are you gonna answer the call? You're not.
Yeah, you have to choose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, and there's something so unique about an elder. An 89-year-old elder who's lived it. How you gonna argue with that?
Yeah, you can't. You can't argue with it. You're like, oh,
yes, sir. Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing to argue.
No,
it was really impactful, and I thought it was very special that he was able to come and I mean, he said it was his potentially last time speaking. Yeah. We'll see if that happens, but I think that was so cool that he started the church, and then his potential last time speaking in his mind at least was at the same church or in the same congregation, right?
In the congregation that he. I mean, I'm sorry, but like you do something in your retirement, that's a sacrifice.
Most people get a hobby.
Yeah, he's like, all right, we're gonna start a church.
Yeah. It's not a hobby material.
You know anybody there? No. That's just is what it is, and thank God for it, because guess what? We got a church to be at, George.
Absolutely.
Because someone made the sacrifice before us, and I will say it was an honor, to just witness that, and I was so thankful that the church could witness that, because I felt that the church felt honored,
right? Yeah.
To have he's on dialysis 3 days a week. He
made it here.
It is more than a considerable sacrifice to make the trip here. It's not easy.
No.
If you've been around your aging parents or grandparents, that is not that matters. And I felt honored to even just witness it, and thankful. And I'll say to you, as you're going through life, and I don't want you to forget this, that everyone gets a choice. God's got a purpose for you. He's got a call for you. You may not know what the plan of salvation is. Look up Acts 2:38. God very simply put that there for you. That way you'll know the way to heaven. I'm thankful for a church in Chattanooga.
Absolutely.
And for an elder like Brother Austin.
And all the lives he's changed.
Man, I'm telling you. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. If you get a chance, go back and listen to that. If you're on YouTube, it'll be at the end it'll pop up at the end. It is worth your time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
To just know this 89 years of life. That's not that's not easily done. And that was just, I mean, he'd still be talking right now. That's 89 years worth.
Yeah.
But
if you were to tell his whole life story.
man alive.
Yeah.
But the impact that he's had on my life, and he didn't even know me.
Right.
He was in Hornwald, Tennessee, 60 years before I was ever thought of.
Right.
That's close to where I grew up. And so that's just one of those things. But thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you are blessed in the Lord today.
Be blessed.